Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and I'm going to get right back into the scam series. And I'm also have another series coming up with all the chaos. That's going to be my chaos series where, you see individuals jump over the benches to attack the judge. It's it's going to be very entertaining. And you must understand that with the impatience and the anger and the coronavirus that we've had, the last 4 years, we've seen a rise in the violence, the impatience. I know I get impatient sometimes, but the bottom line is I'm just exposing you to what's going on in the real world. And tonight's video, it's not going to be any different. I've already talked about it before, but I didn't put it into the scam series. But I know it's a scam in some ways, and I'm going to talk about church scams are common. Yes, church scams are common. Now, I know there are a number of individuals out here who go to church. I stopped going to church way back in 1989, and there are a number of men just like me who have not gone to church. I believe church, in my humble opinion, although I believe in God, if you think about it, the Bible does not say you have to go to church. The Bible says you have to assemble. That's what individuals don't understand. And if you look at churches right now, many of them are about the money. And the people that they draw the most interest from are women. Why? Because women are gullible. You can sell a number of women a bag of shit and they will buy it. Why? Because they're heavily influenced and they are running around like sheep. And yes, I'm banging on the women because, particularly in the black community, most of the women are going to church and they don't believe in the family, but they think God is going to find them a husband. God is not going to find you a husband when you're running the church with a whole sack of kids by 4 or 5 different guys, or even one guy. Now, of course, I have to use women as an example because a number of women are sheep and they will follow that pastor to the day they die. And if you are a man like me and you end up with one of these types of women, you know where you're going to stand. You're going to be right behind the pastor. It's already bad enough that you're going to have to be behind the children, even if they're grown and gone, the dogs and the cats, uh, their girlfriends, their family. You're going to be at the bottom of the list. Now, I said this a long time ago, and it's a good example to use a number of women. Now, of course, I'm using numbers and percentages, but see, a number of women are going to church and they're getting scammed out of their money. You have a number of them giving 50, $100. They don't have a pot to piss in the back door to throw it out, but they will sure give that church hundreds, thousands of dollars. Yes, they can write it off on their taxes. Some of them are even sending rubber checks to the pastor. And what does that pastor do with the money? Well, particularly in the African American community, the pastors are going to come in on Sunday, driving a nice car, and once they get what they need, they're out of there until next Sunday, unless they own the church. Now, again, I am not knocking anybody who believes in the Lord. I do believe that Christianity, particularly when it started from the Catholics way back from the Council of Nicaea, is a man made religion. This is why you have all of these denominations. This is why you have a number of debates when it comes to religion. And let me tell you this as well. When we deal with the Bible, there are books that did not get into the Bible. Absolutely. And there are different Bibles as well. Now, of course, today a number of us use the King James Bible. But see, the reason why church is a scam is because it's the mindset that the church puts you in. Yes, it makes you feel good. You're jumping around, you're acting like a fool out there. You go in, you sing your songs, but guess what? Many of you go out the church the same way you came in, broke as hell. But there are a number of you that still going to go. And one of the reasons why I don't go to church is because when it comes to men, church has alienated us. Well, we don't go. In fact, if somebody ever asked me, do I go to church, particularly between September and January, I'm going to say yes. It's called the Church of the NFL from 1 o'clock to 11 o'clock. That's right. And during this time, spring football, baseball, that's my church. Now, do I read some scriptures in the Bible? I'm not a scholar of the Bible, but I read some scriptures, particularly in the Old Testament, like from Genesis and Exodus and Leviticus. And of course, there's the book of Revelations. You have a lot of books. But the reason why I believe church is a scam is because church produces a lot of hypocrites. And there are some individuals who are on YouTube who are hypocrites as well. Talk about how Christian they are, but yet they make judgments about other people. In the Ten Commandments, thou should not judge the neighbor. But you see a lot of hypocrisy and a lot of judging. And this is why you have a lot of things that are FUBAR now. FUBAR stands for fucked up beyond repair, if you want to know what that actually stands for. Now, putting it all into perspective, these pastors out here, they're getting over on people. Look at Creflo Dollar, want to delete people if they didn't give to his church. He's saying he needed X amount of dollars to get a new plane. Well, in the end, what happens to the members of your church? Some of these pastors don't even help these church members. I mean, you talk about homeless. Church used to be the place for the homeless. Church also used to be the place, particularly in the Black community, where you sit down and you work out the social problems. What happened to it? Well, church has gotten more and more liberal, where we see the acceptance of things we didn't accept before. Yeah, yes, we are all God's children. We all sin, but how many of us repent our sins? Many of us think we do, but we don't. Now, after you've heard that soliloquy, let's get into some article on why I believe church is a scam. Now, again, a lot of scams take place more than you know in churches. You look at what some of these pastors are doing to children, whether they're boys or girls. Now, let me tell you something that happened. And this happened last year. And it wasn't long ago last year, but there was a man who was impersonating a Catholic priest who stole $500 from a church in Houston. And let me tell you this as well. So I know when I came up in the Catholic Church, the church used to send a bunch of envelopes. Well, if you didn't pay in the church, they sent you envelopes to your house where you put the money in and you send it to the church. Well, since we have new technology, let's talk about the rise of cell phones. Well, one thing about the rise of cell phones, within those cell phones, you have payment apps, and that has brought a new kind of faith based crime. Now, scams in which someone impersonates a religious leader and texts a large group of church members, and what they're doing is asking for urgent donations. Now, but even as these digital misdeeds have become more common, criminals continue to capitalize on an innate trust that many Americans have for faith leaders. Again, I just told you uh, earlier last year or late last year, you had somebody that impersonated a Catholic priest who stole $500 from a Houston church. And you're going to have all kinds of crimes infiltrating several other houses of worship. And the last 10 years, you've had people go into church and shoot up churches. Remember what happened in Charleston, South Carolina, in Texas. I know when I lived in Baltimore, a Catholic priest was robbed and killed, and well, let's say deleted by somebody that forced him to open a safe. You had people like Bishop Eddie Long. You know what he did? Now, again, the funny thing about that man who stole $500 in Houston is on the run. And the I, the man who has not been identified has also been active in California, Oregon, Ontario, according to the memos, the most from March and April from the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. And they warn of a man posing as a priest who had gained access to parish or parishioners' offices and who was likely responsible for stealing almost $2,000 from a parish in Oregon. Now, the New York Times reported this. Now, do I believe the New York Times? Not really, because they're are a liberal paper, but they do have some people at that paper who do report facts. Now, again, in the Houston church, the man called himself Father Martin and told community members he was visiting. He was a visiting priest, and he was domiciled on church grounds. And what he did, he convinced them to let him into a locked room. And then what happened after that? He proceeded to take cash from a real priest wallet. Think about that. He convinced church members, let him into a locked room, and then he took money from a real priest. The man left the building and fled in a vehicle. Now in Dallas, the same man went to 6 different churches on the same day, but failed to gain access to storage areas for church funds. Now, this article discussed, it says, we often work with priests from other uh, uh, dioceses to understand that this didn't seem legitimate. So these encounters were reported to the Office of Security and Emergency Management at the diocese. And this is what the communications director of the Catholic Diocese of Dallas said. Now, a spokeswoman for the Dallas Police Department told the Times that the unidentified man is not under investigation there since he did not manage to take any money, since there was no criminal charge in Texas for impersonating a priest. Wow, that doesn't make sense, especially in the state of Texas. Generally, you can go rogue in the state of Texas. Now, Mena allegedly posed as a priest and officiated at masses, funerals, confessions, and at least one marriage, and this was according to the Associated Press, and noted that the Archdiocese of Los Angeles was aware of such fraudsters operating in the area. Mena was also accused of selling phony tickets for a non existent opportunity to meet Pope Francis. Mena was ultimately convicted of grand theft back in February of 2016 and sentenced to a few months in jail. And when he got out, what did he do? He resumed his scamming. And this is what the LA Times reported. Now, in November of 2016, a judge ordered Mena to stay clear of Catholic churches in the future. The judge imposed a special protective order that, upon his release, it basically bars Mena from coming within 100 feet of an archdiocese of Los Angeles facilities. And the LA Times has reported this. Now, also in California, restaurant owners were found by the U.S. Department of Labor to have used a man impersonating a priest to try to extract work related confessions out of restaurant employees. The U.S. Department of Labor on June 12th, and of course, this was last year because June 12th of 2024 has not arrived yet. Again, this was last year, and said the use of supposed priests was among the most shameless of corrupt actions employers have used against employees, the Catholic News Agency reported. So one employee told the Justice Department that they found it strange that the supposed priest was really only interested in work related sins. According to the employee, the supposed priest asked them if they had stolen from their employer, have they ever been late for work or done anything to harm their employer. The purported priest asked if they had bad intentions toward their employer, the Catholic News Agency reported. Now, one reason why faith scams, or let's say faith related scams, can be effective is that so many Americans assume that the members of the clergy are honest and ethical. A recent Gallup study showed that although trust in faith leaders has eroded over the past few decades, it remains relatively high compared to other professions. Now, in December of 2021, 36% of US adults told Gallup that they rate the honesty and ethical standards of members of the clergy very high or high. Only 14% of Americans rated the clergy low or very low. Members of the clergy fared better in the study than bankers. You know, they're corrupt lawyers, definitely corrupt. Newspaper reporters, oh yeah, they need to be ousted. Business executive, state and local politicians, members of Congress, car salesmen, all according to Gallup. But they received lower honesty and ethics ratings than nurses, doctors, pharmacists, grade school teachers, members of the military, police officers, daycare providers, and judges. And again, that was a person that was impersonating a priest. Now, that does not, some people say, well, he was impersonating a priest. Well, if you go every Sunday, you have that bucket going 2, 3, 4 times around in the church. People are just throwing money in there, even money they don't have, thinking that God is going to bring them something. And here's my opinion: God helps those who help themselves. It's not about materialism. And see, we've all been scammed and brainwashed, particularly Black people. And many Black people are very emotional and spiritual. And we look to religion to help us up. But if you think about it, it really hasn't helped us. It's really been destructive because there are a lot of politics involved with going to church. Now, like I said, if somebody also asks me where my church is, it's right here. It's in my heart. I mean, just because you go to church, it doesn't mean you follow the Bible. You have to understand the Bible. And there are a lot of people who, this is what makes church a scam. They will twist the Bible to make it fit their narrative. Oh, they'll preach that BS to me, but they're doing the same thing. And it's generally the person who's judging they're the one who's wrong. And the pastors don't tell them anything. Why? Because these pastors want money. This is their lifestyle. There used to be a show on. No, it's no longer on, called The Pastors of LA, The Pastors of Detroit, and they were living really, really high on a hog. And where did they get the money from? They got the money from suckers who went to church, and they did it under the name of God. So you're using God's name in vain to enrich yourself. And they had no problems with it. And don't get me wrong, you have some of these other evangelists out here, don't think they're righteous either. I mean, they got big stadium churches. I mean, you had people like Billy Graham. Oh, yeah, they had a lot of shysterism going on there. Shysterism, I made that word up. But they were shysty. And that's where the scam comes from. Now, again, I'm not trying to tell you not to believe in religion, because I bless my food every day. Even if I say good bread, good meat, good God, let's see. It's a blessing. But the bottom line is, when you go to church, of course, it's what you get out of it. You think about this. It's just like education. You're being scammed with education. It's much easier to get a degree now than it was before. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going off topic a little bit, because used to be when you went to school, you spent 4, maybe 5 years. Used to be curriculums had 122, 140 credits in it. Now they're down to 120. You can finish in 4 years. Well, you have a lot of financial aid. The government puts money into these schools, jacks the prices of tuition. Next thing you know, your kid will major in some dumb shit. And what happens? They're going to come out with a degree that they don't use. They're not going to go to law school. They're just going to say, well, I got a degree. I'm educated. No, you're not, because you got debt. Just like you go to church. You're going to come out, you're going to praise the Lord. You're going to feel good. And guess what? You still broke as hell. You've been scammed. They don't want to hear it. And again, a lot more women go to church, particularly African American women. They're on that nuts and berries stuff. I think church makes them feel good. And you don't have to be a pastor to see all this. And the funny thing about it is, here's what church does too. They always tell you where you're going to go when you're not living. Well, what about when you're living? Again, it's the soul. If you don't have a soul while you're living, what makes you think that soul is going to go to heaven when you die? That's also the problem when we're told about sin. Well, we sin every day. Sin is really subjective. Now, while I'm on my rant, I'm going to share my screen and let's get into some of this. Let's get into some of these videos about church scams here. And it's very important that you understand the education. Now, I am not knocking church, but you need to know what's going on. So, without any further ado, let's roll the clip. Remember, these videos, fair use, for educational purposes only. Fair use. You see, that also just backs up what I said before. Somebody's impersonating a pastor. Now, again, churches are there to make money. Now, I'm going to play something for you. And this is by a pastor who admits to scamming a church with crypto. Fair use. Let's continue. Might want to subscribe to this guy because he's going to tell you some stuff that you've heard before. But with crypto, this is a new one on me. So again, fair use. Let's get into it. I apologize for the commercials. Let me stop you right there. First of all, you individuals out there, and shout out to Reg and love my boy Reg, but he talks about crypto. And before I go on, get this book. This is by Professor Stone, known as Brother Guy Kane. Um, Love of Ladies and Gentlemen Romance. Good book. Let's shout him out. He's a good friend of mine, and he's going to tell you all about what's going on in the relationship world. So get Professor Stone's book, Brother Guy King. Now, back to my lecture. You need to understand this. You have a number of people who are investing, and they don't even know what, some of them don't even know what crypto is. Just because you hear the word crypto, You need to understand where you're throwing your money. Yes, we all want to generate wealth, but this pastor, he looks a little shady. He does. And this is why I don't go to church, because you got people like that. They've been accused. They know they did it. They're not honest people. They're demonic, but they're judging you, telling you how to get to the next level when these guys are doing shady stuff to their own people. Let's continue. And I'm going to go back a little bit. These guys are living lavish lifestyles over your money. And this is what happens out here. You know, I love this country, but I'm just going to share something with you. There are a lot of scams that go on in this country, and you may think you have the most loyal people out here, and the ones that are mostly disloyal, family, teachers, politicians, people that are supposed to be helping you, pastors, they're the ones who take advantage of other people every day. Now, what I'm hearing, and you may want to subscribe to this lawyer's, looks like File Levine, subscribe to his channel. And by the way, Counsel Levine, don't strike me down for using your information, because I've been doing videos on religious scams and they're happening. And I just want to make people aware that that God you believe in and that I believe in, well, you have a number of people that are using their crony capitalism to take from others for lavish lifestyles. Let's continue. Man, this is a big Ponzi scheme too. I'm just going to tell you right now. There's nothing wrong with making money, but I'm with this lawyer. The Lord, so if I go to work in the morning, and I get up, I'm feeling bad. Is the Lord going to make me burn down my house? You crazy as hell if he says that. So this is what people are doing. They're using the Lord's name in vain just to cover themselves up. This guy knows what he did, and he made a lot of money. Certainly, he didn't dodge his taxes, but he wouldn't have to pay that amount if he didn't scam other people. This is a big Ponzi scheme. And certainly he's admitting what he did, but he shouldn't have done it. But again, we live in a land where people don't have to be accountable. They can do what they want to do. And this is why church is bad. It's letting scoundrels, and there have been a lot of scoundrels who have been in these churches for years. But the bottom line is we didn't have enough media to catch them. Now, hooking them in. And now I played this one for a reason because most of us who are African American, we know what goes on in those churches. It goes on in the white churches too. Fair use, let's continue. He's praying for in this country, you're supposed to be innocent till proven guilty. Man's already guilty already. But he's trying to, again, he's trying to really put some salt in the wound by using God's name in vain. Of course, a lot of them do that. A lot of black pastors do that all the time. Oh yeah, going there, messing around with your wife and your girl, and they're schmoozing all up on her, taking her money, busting nuts all in and all that shit. Bottom line is, you can say what you want. You can call me what you want here. I don't care. I'm just admitting to you, church is a scam. You have a lot of people these days. I mean, back in the days, it meant something. Nowadays, particularly in the black sector, they're going there putting in the fruit bucket on, dancing around like it's a disco. Got individuals twerking in church. Man, it's all fake. It's a Ponzi scheme. And more, I look at it through my eyes. This whole country is a scam. It's all a scam. And I know I'm going to get some more videos. And when I start the wonderful world of toxicity, or how I come up with it, you're going to see all kinds of stuff because you need to know what's going on around you. And this is no different. Let's continue. again, apologize for the commercials. I mean, I do everything live, don't edit. But the bottom line is, I put this video on. The lawyer said everything that I said. It's a Ponzi scheme, and people have gone to jail for Ponzi schemes. Heck, was he racketeering? I don't know. Should they throw some remnants of the RICO on him? They should. He corrupt. And this is why I always say religion, and it's not just for the money either. Okay, let me put the brakes on right there. You've had people like Jim Jones and David Koresh, a number of these individuals who thought they were God. Well, we're not supposed to worship man. And look what happened back in 78, 900 people put on themselves. Yeah, they spoke, and see, when you're weak-minded, you're always going to be a follower. And what happened? Those individuals who got cut down in the Jim Jones effect and David Koresh, weak-minded. They weren't individuals. And what I always told you about sheep, one goes in the slaughterhouse, another one goes right behind them. So if you're going in the slaughterhouse and you're a sheep and you are not coming out, a light bulb needs to come on. Hello? Why didn't the first one come out? Well, the first one's getting all cut up, wrapped up, sent to the grocery store. Heck, it'll be on somebody's plate. But that's what happens when you are a sheep. And a lot of, particularly in our community, African American women, they're against families. Not all of them, but a number of them. They're for feminism. They're for going to these churches. They believe in this system, this corrupt system. They don't believe in their men, but they love this system. And they've been scammed. Heck, feminism's a scam. I'll get into that later on. But the bottom line is, you have a lot of people who are using religion to do dirt. That's not what it's all about. And all these individuals out there thinking that they're holier than thou, self-righteous. But you know what? They're the ones doing the most dirt. They're making all the judgments, telling us how to live, and they're living foul as hell. If you look at some of these singers out here, like Aretha Franklin, God rest her soul, they all came from the church, and they all did a lot of dirt. All did a lot of dirt. Bottom line is, religion is not what it used to be. Now, how can you believe in God and get along? Well, you got to be an individual. See, when you go along with the crowd, you're a sheep. You can't be a sheep. You can't be a follower. You have to be an individual. And if you have a team that's going the wrong way, don't go that way. Don't go that way. You know, a number of people always tell you about red pill. Many of them, like here on YouTube, they talk about red pill, but they're not red pill. They're hiding on the red pill just to make themselves feel good. They're really blue pill. They're not red pill. Red pill basically has nothing to do with women. It's self-improvement. What you need to do to better yourself. That's what red pill is. It means you're not dealing with the system. And see, church now, it deals with the system. It's going to continue to deal with the system. They've gotten more liberal, so-called more open-minded. So everything that they stood for, they don't stand for anymore. Why? Well, I know why from my humble opinion. Well, when you don't have a lot of men going to church, you got to get some other people to go to church. So you got to get people from alternative lifestyles to go to church who are going to donate that money. Because the men certainly, they're not going to throw their money in church. And then the women, a number of them are broke as hell. So you got to get some other people that are gonna be part of the congregation that are gonna feel good. It's a big sales pitch. It's like even buying a car. You think about it, it's also a scam. But let me take it down a notch here. I'm just gonna say this: there's nothing wrong with praising the Lord, but don't use the Lord as an alibi to escape from your dirt, because you did your dirt. And there are a lot of people who do their dirt. And how long did he do his dirt? I don't know. But the bottom line is, he's not the only one out here. There are a lot of them out here. There are a lot of them out here living through God, as they say, but they're committing crimes, using God as an excuse. They're they're taken from other people. You know, the church is supposed to help people. He wasn't helping people, he was helping himself. A lot of these pastors don't care. As long as you're going to be a sucker, they're going to take you in. But let me summarize everything up for you. Religion is man-made. There are a number of individuals who will tell you about the Bible, but they don't follow it themselves. They only use certain passages to continue to run their narrative. And their narrative is to do dirt and be hypocritical. But when it comes to religion, you see for yourself, it's all about the money. And when people get tight, like you got people up there saying they're ordained ministers, and they're not. They'll go into some storefront church, sound good, bring in some people, bring them that money. He's going to leave, come back next week, do the same thing. I'm going to say this: really want to be in the God, read and understand the Bible. Don't listen to these pastors. There are a couple of them that I like out here. Shout out to Pastor Dallin. Shout out to Thaddeus Matthews. They're about as real as you're going to get out here. That's because they're not under this corruptive system. Again, when I told you about the 5 powers of society, media, religion, education, employment, and government, that's where all the corruption is, where you have all your bad people. And in the end, 5 powers of society, that's where your scams are. And they're big cancers. And in the end, if you're going to be in the God, be smart. Don't be a follower. Be an educator. Take the Bible, follow the principles. Because in the end, these pastors lead you to the slaughterhouse. And what's going to happen after that? You're going to be on somebody's plate. Because in the end, you lose your life and your sanity and enhance their lives. And they keep finding people just like you who are going to be suckers. So I will say this: don't allow religion to scam you. And better yet, don't be a victim of a religious scam. And in the end, follow the Bible right. God will bless you. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 401 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some STEM content, check out my second channel, which I'll be putting up a video tomorrow on the QCIS channel. And once I finish recording all my videos on YouTube, post those videos up to my Twitter page. Now, for the QCIS channel, since it is an educational channel, you can also find the content from the QCIS channel on my LinkedIn page. And in the end, I'm going to get religious on you right now. Blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. Once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.